Hello, everyone. You're all very welcome to Underground Cinema. As a lot of you know, we're on the big run up to the 15th Underground Cinema Awards. They're just weeks away. They're going to take place in the Royal Marine Hotel on November 16th. We're being really ambitious at the moment. We're trying to interview as many filmmakers, actors, crew members, documentary makers as we possibly can on that run up to the award ceremony. I'm delighted to say that we've got Richie Duhig with us today. Richie has been nominated for a brilliant documentary called We Swallow the Ocean. You're very welcome, Richie.
Thanks for having me on, Dave, and really excited about this whole Dublin Underground Cinema Awards. It's my first step into the likes of this, so yeah, so far it's been really immersive, and you've been brilliant communication-wise as well, helping me along, so much appreciated.
Not at all. We're delighted, and we're even more delighted. When a documentary sent into us that is, it's a first time documentary. When we watched it, we thought it was absolutely fantastic. I'm a big fan of music documentaries, anyway. To be honest with you, and I know you're big into metal. Like I back in the day, you're looking at the guy that was outside the Top Hat in Tulare waiting to get in to see Metallica. That's how long ago I remember.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, my hometown is Tulare, so yeah, Metallica played in the Top Hat back in the late '80s, and Nirvana played down there, and there was some great gigs, and this was just a sort of
It's a
a
shame
bowling.
it went. Yeah, it's a shame it went, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was super. They turned it into a roller disco. Then afterwards, I used to be down to it all the time. But it was a super venue as usual.
Yeah.
Turned into apartments, but that's another
Yeah,
story. So
we could do a podcast solely about that. Yeah,
so
unfortunately, the thing, Dave, is that
you could,
many
yeah.
many people don't seem to realize that there's an Irish heavy metal scene that is absolutely fantastic, but like they just associate Irish heavy metal with Tin Lizzy and probably No Sweat, and it ends there,
Yeah, no, it is quite big. I've a load of friends that are into the scene. You did, but just back to the documentary. So this documentary is about a metal band called Partholon. They've a new album coming out, and you've done you've interviewed a lot of these guys, and
Correct, yeah.
what I'm just and they have a very unique sound and style of storytelling, and on this particular album they got 5 songs that explore life, death, and mythological themes. I mean, and I was looking
Yes,
at some
all.
of the locations that you picked.
Yeah.
And I looked at the locations that you picked to do repair. Maybe you can just tell us a little bit about the band themselves and the connection that they have to those locations throughout the documentary.
Yeah, sure. So Partholon have been going for quite a long time. They're well recognized and known in the Irish metal scene, and they've gone through a few different iterations of the band. But like the current band is with Howard and Alan, really, who are the 2 lads I interviewed on the show. So I got the demos off the lads, and it's funny how it started, because I got back to Howard straight away, going, "Oh my God, this is incredible. Have you thought about even doing a video for one of the songs?" Because the song itself was Pillars that stood out. So I scripted and did basically a draft of what I think the song Pillars should be about, as a video. And I sent that back to Howard, and he was thinking, yeah, we're not really sure what to do to promote the release as such. So I was going, oh my God, like, and that's why I did the podcast. Start the podcast 5 years ago, is to promote the likes of these bands who are gifted musicians, but sometimes a lot of the time they don't really bother getting into the whole promotional side of things if there's not a record label involved. And being truthful, I'd say 98% of Irish metal bands don't even have record labels, so it's all self-funded. And they'll need one guy usually to do the social media side of things, so that's where I come in and try and lift them up through the podcast. And so getting back to the documentary, I decided then I contacted Howard and said, look, instead of maybe doing a video for you, how about I just do a documentary on the making of the album? And, that's basically where it started.
There are huge similarities, but from what you just told me and what we do at Underground Cinema, so it's very, very similar. So we were the same. Underground Cinema started 15 years ago. And just a very sort of quick background on it. My background is actually
Mm.
theatre. And I used to deal with a lot of actors that that were coming down to rehearsals. I remember a particular show I was doing. It was called Judgment at Nuremberg. It was a big show back in the day in Dunleary. And when you're dealing with a big cast, you get actors that turn up late for rehearsals. And I asked them, why were you late? And they tell me, I was in this fantastic short film I was working on in IADT in Dunleary, and it explained the story to me. It sounded amazing. And I remember asking, when are we going to get to see this film? And I was told, you might get to see it if it gets into Cork, or you might get to see it if it's on in Galway. And I said, Jesus, all this work that you guys are putting into this, and there's a
Yeah.
chance that nobody's actually going to get to see it or hear it. So Underground Cinema was created to start promoting independent Irish film, and in a way, that's what you're doing with metal music. It's very similar.
Yeah, it is. And it's really frustrating, as you can probably understand, Dave, when we've got, and as definitely from a film point of view as well, like some of the best actors, actresses out there, and filmmakers and stuff, and for some reason they're not getting the attention they deserve. And I don't know, is it true, the national media just taking their eye off the ball with it, or government funding? It's very frustrating because it's the exact same in the Irish heavy metal scene.
Yeah. I think things are starting to turn around for the better in the Irish independent film scene. To be honest with you, I think there's funny. In the previous interview with Alan Dunn I did there earlier on today, we were actually touching on this. We feel that we're seeing a turning point in independent cinema, so Irish cinema. So at the moment, what you're seeing is, and it would have been unheard of a number of years ago, you're seeing independent Irish feature films now in mainstream cinemas like Omniplex, IMC. In fact, down the Cork direction now, there's a fantastic film called Swingbout directed by Maurice O'Carroll and Sinead O'Riordan and Cork Glass. It's now into its fourth week. So I think independent cinema is now being recognised. The cinemas are realising that there is definitely a market for it. There's definitely an audience there for it. But it's taken a bit of time to get that far, Richie,
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And that's the whole idea of the documentary as well, Dave, was just to see if I could get this documentary out of the confines of, we'll say, the norm in relation to heavy metal, and just reach other people with it, and just try and give people an idea that it's not the stereotypical heavy metal guys that are making these movies or that are in these documentaries and stuff like that. These are normal people that look normal, that aren't wearing studded belts, this kind of stereotype, which I hate. But these are really creative, interesting people that are making incredible music, and just to kind of break out of that stereotype. So I think the documentary helps a lot in that way, I think.
Definitely. So these guys in the band, they're not your stereotypical metaler, with long
Mm.
hair, with earrings all over the place, with
Yeah.
you know, torn jackets. That's the stereotypical image. Actually, when you interview them, and I just love the way you pick the locations to interview these guys. One of the guys, I can't remember his name. His father um, made a boat.
Howard. Howard, yeah.
And he reflects a bit about his yeah, Howard, yeah.
Mm.
Like I love the way that you're chatting to him, by the boat. And it's clever because he is reflecting right the way through that short piece about this
Yeah.
album's all about times gone by that'll never come back. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. And so it was easy for me to
And that's why.
sorry, Dave, yeah. There's just a bit of delay there. Go on.
Yeah, no problem. Go away. Far away.
Yeah, so it was easy for me because I'm from Youghal, which is a seaside town anyway. So when I was talking to Howard about maybe filming stuff, he came up with all the locations around Passage and Ringaskiddy. So we just chose a day, and the day itself was a bit dull, and kind of you could see in the footage anyway, it wasn't ideal, but you know, we decided straight away that the actual whole idea of the documentary shouldn't be in the sunshine or anything like that. It should be actually kind of gritty and, um, weather worn look to it. And, it was raining at some stage during it as well. And, the props that Howard brought me to, as in the boat, we'll say, and that kind of that lovely area where he's talking, and you can see behind him as the sea's flowing. All them are relevant to the songs, and so for that side of things, it was straightforward enough. It was just trying to put all the pieces of the puzzle then together to get this flow working through the documentary.
Yeah, well, I was really interested. I really got stuck into it because there's a huge passion in these interviews. These guys are very, very passionate about the lyrics that they write. They mean an enormous amount to them.
Yeah.
You can hear it in their voices, and there's the odd pause as well when they're reflecting as well. I think it's fantastic, and I bet you I put money on it that these were all probably done in one takes. You couldn't do
Correct.
that in two or three different takes. Yeah,
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 all
yeah,
the
and of course
Howards.
it's coming from the heart.
Yeah, all the Howards were done in one or two takes for sure. I mean, like that, that lyric, your field will grow fallow without sin in the fisherman's garden, silver and thin. This is a guy that's lived his life through his dad and his granddad, and the ancestry and fishing. It means so much to him. And I suppose the main thing, Dave. Now I know it certainly isn't perfect as a documentary, but it's a stepping stone. But like the main priority for me was to get the sound right, because it's kind of, a lot of this is field recordings. So that was very important to me from day one, that I got the passion in the voice. It wasn't being clouded by wind or, so if you get the sound right, that passion comes across really well.
Yeah, do you know what? And it's critical. The sound is critical, and that just doesn't go for your documentary. In general, the sound to any short film or documentary or feature film is critical. What happens is, if and you're starting off on your festival journey with your first documentary, and I've no doubt you're going to be doing a few more in the future. The sound is so important. When you're sending your submission off to a film festival, and you get hundreds of entries in, and the programmer is sitting there watching the film, and if the sound is not right, they'll end up switching off after the first 10-15 seconds.
Okay.
They
Wow.
switch off. Now we watch everything from start to finish, but there will be other festivals there that they get so many entries in, they literally have to skim through the film, and if your sound is not right, it could be bypassed. And the other thing as well is that the film could look absolutely amazing. You
Mm.
put so much work into it and be let down big time by the sound. So you're right; it's critical. It's number one on the list to get right.
Oh, that's good to hear. It just had that feeling myself, going into this whole thing. Because I mean, as I said, I do the podcast, and you can't have a podcast if the sound is terrible. You just know that, especially if your guest's sound is terrible, I'd have to pull them on it. But like, also I can't go any further, but
Yeah.
talk about Kirk Kelly, who designed the album cover and also did the beautiful footage, scenic footage around Kerry. So the whole idea there was that Kirk was going to join myself and Howard on a boat trip out around the bay, and we were going to film that. But again, the weather went against us, and the boat wasn't ready. So, like, we then broke it into the second part of the documentary, where we'd Alan talking and Kirk, and I thought that was important because, like, despite Howard's um the way he delivered it and stuff like that, it was just all Howard. And I just said, right, no, we need another band member in here. So we got Alan in, and I kind of broke it up a bit more, got his perspective from it, and then it allowed me then to use Kirk's footage of we'll say Kerry and stuff like that to bring it in gently, we'll say, as the story flowed.
Yeah. So how involved were the guys in the process, the guys in the band in the process, where when you were finishing, say, together, were you sending them the footage just to give them a look over and make sure everything was okay?
Yeah, they were involved more or less from the start to the finish. I just really, it took 10 drafts to get the whole thing right. And would you believe the biggest problem, and it was such an easy fix in the end, Dave, was that when Alan starts at the start of the documentary and he's talking about the formation of the band, I had footage of them filmed live, and that footage I had one of the new songs over that footage. I just cleverly did it so it looked like one of the new songs was being played over that footage, but in actual fact, that footage was of an old song. So, as I said, I'd all the pieces of puzzle bar this, and I went, hang on a second. Okay, so Alan is talking about the old members of the band and stuff like that. Maybe I'll just grab that footage that's way further on in the documentary, bring it back to where Alan is, and play the proper song which represented it. And it was a song from their debut EP, I should say. And it just worked. And that was it. That was the missing part then. So that was the flow then right through, And I suppose if you stay adding long enough as well, Dave, that you could fall into the trap of adding too much, outside clips, and not leave the flow work through it as it should, So again, it was just a matter of pulling a lot of stuff out and then finally settling on the 10th draft, and that was it then.
Yeah, yeah. When you do something like that, well, what you've done there is you cheated a little bit. So, and it worked really well. It got you out of
Yeah.
got you out of a hole. I didn't even notice, and I think you'd have to be watching it over and over again to actually pick up on that. So it's worked. It's worked well.
Yeah.
The running time is just over the running time is just over 23 and a half minutes long, which
Yeah.
when it comes to, say, a short film, a dramatic piece, that's a tad on the long side. But when it comes to a documentary, that's very difficult, to try and squeeze
Yeah.
in everything into 23 minutes. Have you got much that ended up on the floor, on the cutting room floor, so to speak?
Not really, no. Like the whole plan was to come in at 20 minutes. So I kind of just
Cool.
overshot that. No, we don't have anything on the cutting floor, thankfully. It was really 2 days of shooting and Adam Kirk's fantastic scenic footage, and also the light bulb is like I started off with an idea of the light bulb and the seagull. That's literally the two ideas I had initially, with of course the seagull being relevant in relation to the sea, and the light bulb. Then, now nobody knows this outside the metal scene, but like the band Partalon play their live sets with a light bulb hanging down off the ceiling. So Howard actually takes that light bulb and uses the mic with the light bulb and is swinging out into the crowd and coming back. So that was just a kind of what would you say, just an in joke amongst us all, and it worked really well in the documentary.
Again, going back to it's your first documentary. Had you studied any particular style of documentary filmmaking? I mean, there's so much stuff on YouTube now at the moment available to you. Was there a particular is there a particular style that you like?
No, I stayed away from anything like that. I just didn't want to be influenced by anything. I just went with gut instinct, and myself and Howard just we wanted it to be about the songs, and no distractions as such. And as I said, a lot of the props were used in the song lyrics. So that's basically, we wanted to keep it basic, simple, and let the narrator, which is Howard predominantly, tell the story of the album, and just supplement it then with the footage around it.
Well, what did you find that was your biggest challenge when you were making it?
Biggest challenge was actually filming, because it's not something that I'm really strong at, but I did enough tutorials and stuff online, with YouTube and stuff to get my Canon M50 to get me over the main shots, then bringing it into a DaVinci Resolve then to do the editing was a big challenge, all right, It's funny as well because Kirk had this €2,500 camera, and he was there on the day we were filming Alan, and we also filmed Kirk with his €2,500 camera, and it was just ridiculously HD, ultra HD, and it looked way too crisp for the documentary. As I said, I wanted a kind of gritty and kind of saturated look to it, just because it suits the music and stuff. So we ditched a lot of Kirk's footage in relation to the personal interviews because of that.
Right. So what are you going to do now, Richie, with the film? I mean, you spoke earlier on about trying to give the metal scene a push in Ireland, and you felt that this documentary might be a stepping stone in the right direction. So what's the plan for it? How are you going to sort of push it?
Yeah, it's something that I have thought about a lot, like yourself, Dave, in this world that you live in, all it takes is one guy to champion you, and next minute you're talking to a few different people that could help you along the way. So I'm certainly hoping on November the 16th at the Royal Marine Hotel in Dublin that I'll be in conversations with some people in the scene in your side of the woods, we'll say, that could help me along and maybe champion the documentary elsewhere. Word of mouth sometimes is often the best.
Yeah, well, if you were to do anything, I would say is get it into as many documentary film festivals as possible.
Yeah.
Now you need a bit of a budget for that sort of thing, because film festival entries could be expensive and they could be reasonable as well. It depends on the country, But I would certainly have a look, come up with a festival plan. That'll be the first thing I'd say is go through Film Freeway, look through some of the documentary film festivals and start getting it out there. And once you start getting your entries in and your acceptances in and your laurels in, and that means people would start taking the documentary quite serious. Word will start getting around about it. So I would certainly come up with a festival plan. That's the next step, I think.
Yeah, I've applied to Edinburgh, Liverpool, Barcelona, and a few of them already. Because I mean, they were probably coming up on my Filmway feed that these festivals, there's a cutoff point. So I definitely submitted it to around, I think it was 6 or 7 of them. But at the moment, there's nothing really documentary wise coming through. But yeah, I'm keeping an eye on that, Dave. Yeah, certainly.
Yeah. And you mentioned, like, in Dunleary, you're going to meet a load of filmmakers down in Dunleary. You're going to meet a lot of first timers, and you're going to meet a load of really experienced filmmakers that have been on the scene for years. So there's a wealth of information that's going to be down there on the day. Half of that event is the awards, it's the dinner, and the networking afterwards. That's probably that's how it works. So we're really, really looking forward to seeing you down in Dunleary, Richie. We wish you the very best of luck with the documentary on the festival circuit. And if we can do anything we can at Underground Cinema, just give us a shout.
Oh, I really appreciate it. And as I said, Dave, you've been fantastic so far with all the communications and everything. So it's really appreciated for a first timer, just as I said, dipping his toe into this.
Not at all, Richie. Well, congratulations and well done again.
Thank you, Dave. Much appreciated. And see you in November.
Take care.